So we move on with our session. Our next speaker is Srimati Nabomita Mazumdar. She is the founder of nabomita.com, where she amplifies meaningful messages to society using different formats of media, ensuring companies scale up their business and turn around, earning millions of dollars. She's also a President of India awardee. She's a recipient of 100 Women Achievers Award from the Ministry of Women and Child Development. She's currently the National Chairperson of Confederation of India Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises and International Council for Technology Management and Applied Engineering, which is a confederation of industries and business owners supported by the Ministry of MSME. She's also a board advisor to the Asian African Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Ma'am, may I invite you?
Pranam. Honorable Minister Shri Rajiv Ji, Shri Shriman Birla Ji, dignitaries and my delegates, thank you so much for first and foremost the team Keraleeyam for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to address something that I have been benefiting from, and I see y'all will, because I heard that in the presentation of Shri Rajiv Ji and Shri Suman Birla Ji. Before I move ahead, I must say Shri Suman Birla Ji talked about Industry 4.0 as the future of Kerala. However, it is not just the future, it is exactly what built my future, and again it is from Kerala. Let me share how it happened. So I will share who we are, and that has Industry 4.0, which is definitely from Kerala. And then we will talk about Shwanshri. We definitely want to talk about CIMSME, which is why I am here, and what can we do in terms of Kerala, in terms of the entire initiative and effort that we have heard since morning, and my journey to the end. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So next one. We are a platform. Nabomita.com is a platform that connects. We are growth opportunity curators. I would want to read what's written here. In today's world of fragmented media, if you want to gain, if you want anything beyond gaining attention, to build relationship, we need to engage our target groups using number of channels, both online and offline. In multi-stakeholder business environment, the target group could mean employees, customers, investors, both in future, present and future. In today's world, the concept of passive audience is anachronous. Hence, we build an engagement through conversations. Rather, through broadcasting messages, conversation means not just a voice, an audience, but also a content that lends itself to conversations. As in most cases, people today kind of in identities and are spread across different channels of communication. While talking face to face, it's easy to coordinate between heart, mind, and mouth who we are and what we do. In today's media, we understand managing identities is much beyond a technology platform and enable it. Why am I reading it? Well, I'm reading it because this is the core concept. This is a concept in which one of the core concepts for Industry 4.0, and Sri Shriman Birla Ji already talked about technology and skilled labor. However, the words over here are words that I had written down while my teacher, my faculty from XLRI, Dr. Mataifen, who's sitting here, he's also my guru. He was talking about this concept, right? When I returned from Silicon Valley after my first product, in Mumbai, he met me and he talked about this concept, which is essentially Industry 4.0, an idea which was created with essentially the skill set, no investment, no essential physical structures. However, this idea has gone ahead to serve from 150 to 300 brands worldwide. That's Industry 4.0, and that, as I said, stemmed right from Kerala, because Sir belongs to Kerala. Dr. Fen belongs to Kerala. Next slide, please. This is what we do. We essentially, as an engagement platform, we evangelize. When we talk about evangelism, evangelism is where exactly the marketing stops. We are community builders. We are growth opportunity curators. What we do is we know what is happening in one company, and we know exactly where the requirement is, and we connect the two. So if a manufacturing unit has produced certain products, which is essentially for a particular segment, we know the exact infrastructure who can implement that kind of a futuristic product. So for us, it's very easy to curate such growth opportunities and create a far bigger industry than what was earlier imagined. Yes, these are the 4 pillars, how we run it. We are growth opportunity curators. We are into reach and media. We are into social. The social part is essentially the connect, that how we bring in industry for responsible areas. It is not just working for the marginalized. It is also making visible what needs to be in terms of economy, in terms of industry, in terms of a lot more than just social responsibilities. Beyond that. And finally, we create engagements through different platforms, obviously think tank, trade fairs, international forums. We all do that. Next slide, please. This is how the entire cycle happened. What Sir said, in a thought flow process, this is how the process works. We identify, we essentially listen. We are listeners. We essentially listen what a producer or a manufacturer is talking about. We understand where exactly the pain point is. We also listen to the pain points from other segments, the other sectors, and that's exactly helps us to connect and create a requirement for others. I'll give you an example. The manufacturing product that I mentioned, which we could connect with the infrastructure, also solved certain problems in terms of water wastage, in terms of identifying usage, power conservation. So this is exactly what I believe goes beyond social, because it is not just being a very intelligent product, which is the product for tomorrow, but it is also acknowledging the ecosystem which is coming up, which is the future. Next slide, please. This is what we do. We communicate with people worldwide. Our online reach is more than 66 million worldwide, and these are people who are builders, who are business owners, who are CEOs, managing directors. And obviously, what happened was initially when I heard the concept from Sir, in Silicon Valley, there were a lot of products technologically which was promoted. However, I saw a special challenge in identifying or just focusing on one product. To give you an example, Twitter was a very powerful product in terms of reach, in terms of market, in terms of targeting. However, when Elon Musk took over, Twitter went through a huge revamping. The kind of reach that Twitter has is very different from what it was in Jack Dorsey's era. So that way, the product will always change in terms of behavior. So depending on one particular product, depending on one technology, rather than observing the fluidity and creating a reach through a larger network of technologies is what 4.0, what Sri Shuman Villaji talked about. It is exactly what I'm doing within my company, and it came from the idea which Sir shared with me, Dr. Mathaifan shared with me, and it is essentially, I would say, that the idea have from Kerala. Next slide, please. We have served more than 150 brands. Up to 300, I cannot name everyone, because most of the time when we work in such serious areas. To give you an example, a product or a business reason, I cannot call it a challenge or a problem, because it created opportunities for others. The business reason from a company which is 3,000 crore, obviously we cannot discuss it in an open forum. However, that reason helped somewhere through leaders across the world. For an example, a top technology leader from who's an Indian from New York helped certain brainstorming to the think tank through the think tank that we organized, and created the reason to generate even greater revenue for the ecosystem. That's what we are talking about at Industry 4.0. Next, please. Industry reach, this is the kind of reach that we have. Yes, we are essentially into technology, but then it is not just technology. We are highly active in the manufacturing sector, in certain segments, which is definitely coming up, in certain sunrise segments as well. Next slide, please. From Navamita.com, this is what we created, a platform called Swarnshri, wherein we are collaborating with many more players to create platforms which can bring industries across the world. Next slide, please. What we do is we create these trade fairs, and we create forums wherein we are grateful to have participation from the top leaders of our nation and worldwide as well, to bring in the kind of sustainable change that is required. To give you an example, a few months back we had a think tank within Navamita.com wherein we were talking about cracking government funding for MSME, where a MSME owner who had received the funding discussed how he worked through the bottlenecks, and we had a leader, a bureaucrat from Finance Ministry, talking about how these schemes can be accessed and can be reached out to the advantage of all our MSME owners. This is the kind of responsible communication, responsible industry building work that we are doing. Next slide, please. So this is our essential work mode. We definitely have awards. We definitely have certain CEO summits, CFO summits. We also have youth summits. We manage a lot of content and communication for the youth, because the entire changes are. Interestingly, youth is very nimble-foot. It's very easy for them to accept an idea, even if it fails, run with it, and then learn through it. So we are really grateful. Last is the social segment. Next slide, please. Yes, we are grateful to have the participation from all these through Navamita.com. We have Bombay Stock Exchange supporting us. We have COEP, one of the oldest technical institute in India, supporting us, and then African Asian Chamber of Commerce, MSME, Management Media. These are the communities. Yes, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. So this was one of the trade fair that we had in Kolhapur. Kolhapur being a industry zone, which has a very culture-oriented, cluster-oriented culture, and very insulated from any mishaps or any economical challenge from the world. We had 750 stalls. We had 5 lakh footfalls, and millions of rupees generated over. Next slide, please. Obviously, we had this director summit where we had Madam attending, Madam addressing the entire summit. We had 500 directors, men and women, attending the summit. So this is what we do. We bring in the decision makers of the companies, and we create a forum wherein they can talk about what matters, including the people who really makes a difference. Thank you. Next slide, please. Conferences. Next slide. We are grateful to have certain support from government, which matters a lot, because the industry change that we are trying to bring in wouldn't have reached the level that we are working at without their support, without their part. I would rather say the sponsorship and the guidance that we receive from them. Next slide, please. This is a handloom sector. We are also very active in social stock exchange. I saw the khadi segment, the handloom segment. It means a lot to me, because we are actively promoting social stock exchange in India, which is one of the areas which has to be, irrespective of what the number says, what the culture says, we need a social stock exchange for our, not just NGO, but socially responsible companies to run without looking for, sorry to say, not to look for a begging bowl, but to earn the respect and the revenue they deserve. Next slide, please. Through the transparency, obviously. These are online summits. I'm running out of time. I'm really sorry to rush through it. Next slide. So this is what we do. We bring in the visibility of the exact person who's trying to solve something, and the person who can contribute, creating a far greater reach, a far greater revenue for all of the people who had not even imagined. We created there was a certain initiative through which revenue was generated for a company who did not even realize that the initiative was actually on. So even when the players in the market are not even aware of what is going on, they are benefiting. That's how the ecosystem should work. That's how the ecosystem becomes rock solid. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. My story. I would take last few minutes to talk about it. Well, this happened to me at my last term, final term in XLRI. I was shown a presentation on HR communities, which I did not like. I walked out from that presentation and I met Dr. Madhukar Shukla, who's another, just like Dr. Fenn, he's another iconic faculty from XLRI. So I told sir that, sir, I did not like what I saw. He said, you're not supposed to like what you see, you're supposed to build what you like. So he gave me an idea, concept of a community, which I found path-breaking. I did not build it, but then essentially I worked through it, and then it did become one of the largest community for HRs. Through that, beyond that, there were a lot of work that I could do, reaching millions worldwide. Now the point is, I did this from my living room, without any investment, with zero manpower, just me. And this was essentially technology, Industry 4.0 in practice. Finally, I'm grateful this day happened to me when I was awarded, and the person, the leader, the greatest leader of my nation said that you have built something that values and that matters for the industry. So with that, I end my talk. Thank you so much. Next slide. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. There's one thing that I would want to add. I'm so sorry, I'm taking one more minute. I have come to this forum. I'm grateful I have been invited. I'm grateful I was allowed to share what changed my life, what stemmed from, as an idea from Sir, could bring in an impact to so many companies across worldwide. I just want to stand amazed with what can happen within the entire state, wherein teachers like him are available, wherein minds like yours are available, and there are leaders sitting in the podium who are ready to sponsor that kind of a dream. Wish you all the best, Kerala. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Kerala.
Thanks a lot, madam. We have our next speaker who will be joining us online. But before I speak a few words, there is a kind announcement. Followed by the speech from the speakers, we have a question and answer session. May I request the audience to kindly be ready with your questions. We have 2 boxes on either side of the stage. Kindly drop your questions in the box or kindly hand it over to our officials or the organizers so that we'll be ready with the answers once we start the question and answer